Thank you for joining us for this pre-reading video as part of the Certificate 4 in Training and Assessment here at MSA Training and Professional Development. Today we'll be looking over designing training using units of competency to meet a training need. These units of competency may be clustered together in a formal qualification or via a couple of units of competency to meet a specific skill set area. For further information in regards to skill sets and qualifications, please refer to the previous video on training.gov.au where we unpackage qualifications and skill sets in their entirety. But let's get started with today's session. First of all, when we're designing training, we need to understand why the training is actually needed. Maybe the training is needed to meet a specific skill gap, to satisfy an audit, to increase staff skills, to prepare for something for which new skills are needed, to address a shortfall, deficit, or complaint issue, to respond to weak areas discovered in performance reviews, to bolster strengths to make them even stronger, to get or gain a competitive edge, or to ensure staff have certain credentials, licenses, or qualifications. Think about first aid certificates or forklift licenses. These are all valid examples of why training may be needed. We then need to look at what standards must training meet. Standards that must be met include performance at a certain level, reduction in losses, complaints, or returns to a certain point, a certain number of sales being made, particular laws, codes, or standards being complied with. These standards will help you to understand what the learning outcomes of the training will be for the designated cohort. Moving on to the cohort, we need to actually look at the target group information. Who's going to be undertaking the training? What range of job roles will be represented? At what level in the organization are they? Will there be whole departments and sections undertaking this training at the same time? Will there be mixed seniority levels in the training room? What are the age and gender composition or demographics of the group? What cultural backgrounds and ethnicity groups will be represented? Do any of the anticipated members have any special needs, such as any disabilities or language literacy and numeracy requirements that we would need to adhere to? Do the people in the targeted group want to come to the training? Is it mandatory or is there a choice? This information will help in designing how you will deliver the training to the group based on the needs of the group and the demographic of the group. Limits and constraints. What is the scope of the proposed training? The organization may approach you to deliver this training and they may have a particular amount of sessions in line. So you need to actually look into regards to how many sessions are to be run to see if you can deliver the training in that amount of time. How many different groups will be undertaking this training? Is it going to be large or multiple groups? What facilities, resources, and equipment are available to you? What scheduling issues are there? Again, if the organization has approached you, they may have specific no-go dates where their staff cannot attend training. What communication will be sent out and who is in charge of this? This information will help in understanding the constraints of the training and how to overcome them when designing the training for the cohort. Unpacking the units of competency. So first you need to access the units of competency on training.gov.au and understand the following bits of information. What are the performance criteria? What is the knowledge evidence? What are the assessment conditions? And what are the foundation skills for the units of competency? The key is to design training and assessment tasks so the cohort can complete the assessments and training to show competency in the above mentioned areas. To do this, sometimes you may need to contextualize the training. Contextualization obviously means making the training suit the actual cohort based on their experience and based on their previous knowledge, contextualizing it to their needs. So how can we contextualize this training to the cohort? What work-based experience does the cohort currently already have? What resources are available to them? What does training.gov.au state needs to be adhered to? Think your knowledge and performance evidence requirements. So basically what we need to do with contextualization is we can contextualize the content in the training to the cohort as long as we ensure that we're not changing around the knowledge and performance evidence requirements that are listed within training.gov.au for the specific units of competency within the formal qualification or the skill set that we are training. So again, the key is to make the best training suit the targeted group without losing any of the integrity of the unit and its national standards. Creating the training framework. So this is plotting the structure of the training. When you're creating the training framework, we need to work out the sequence of the content. What goes first, what follows, what's last. Work out the timing of the training, how long to spend on each area. Work out the format. Is it going to be done in group work, simulation, trainer-led, role plays? Is it going to be done via videos? What kind of format is the training going to be delivered in? When will breaks be taken? How will each session flow into the next? How to introduce and close each section? How many sessions in total to cover the training program will be needed? What resources will be needed to actually deliver the training? Will we need a computer, projector, whiteboard, simulated environment? What resources will be needed to actually deliver the training to the cohort? This is all the information you need to know when you're actually designing and creating your training framework. Once we've kind of had a rough plan of what our training framework is going to look like, we need to actually create a session plan. So a session plan needs to have the topics and resources required for each session, for each area of training you are developing and delivering, the expected learner outcomes at the end of each session, what activities will be conducted and how they will lead and relate to the assessment tasks, the timeframes for each topic within each session, and any break times required. Basically, your session plan is a roadmap for how to run the session and what resources are required so that anyone can pick up the session plan and deliver the training to the cohort. Running the session. To run the session, you need to ensure that the environment is safe. So before you run the session, you need to complete a hazard and risk report to ensure that the room is free of hazards and risks. If there are any hazards or risks, you need to identify them in the session plan and make the cohort aware of them at the beginning of each training session. You need to check the room and activities to be undertaken are safe to ensure that the room and activities undertaken in the room are safe, that there's no issues or risks that could occur to the cohort. Check for any special needs that may need to be accommodated to. For example, if you do have someone with a disability, there may need to be disabled access in forms of a ramp instead of stairs to make sure that all the actual learners have their needs met. Check to ensure that the resources that are used are relevant and free from bias. And set ground rules or another form of reference to ensure an inclusive and safe environment for the cohort participating to ensure a safe and comfortable learning environment. After you've completed the session and delivered the session, it's really important to seek feedback from the cohort and client to ensure the training has met their needs and expected outcomes. So this is an important part of self-development and continuous improvement for any trainer, particularly if you need to be looking at changing the actual training plan and training session for any future clients. Were the resources sufficient and able to simulate real-world scenarios? Again, this is important for designing future training sessions, and again, a part of continuous improvement as a trainer. Well, that's it for today's session, looking into designing training plans using units of competency. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope you have a great day.